Bank rejects Elon Musk's transaction, but when he bought the entire building, the whole staff resignate. The bank was unusually quiet for a Friday afternoon. Claire Bennett, the senior manager, sat behind her desk, reviewing reports. The fluorescent lights hummed softly, blending with the occasional tapping of keyboards. James Patel, the young teller, glanced nervously at the door. His heart skipped a beat when he saw Elon Musk stride in, wearing a casual black t-shirt and jeans. "Is that—" James whispered to his co-worker. "Yep," she replied, wide-eyed. Elon walked up to the counter, placing a small stack of papers in front of James. "Hi," Elon said, his tone light but direct. "I'd like to make a donation to this local STEM charity. It's about $10 million. James froze, glancing at Claire through the glass partition. Mr. Musk," James stammered. "I think I need my manager for this." Claire approached the counter, her expression professional but cautious. "Good afternoon, Mr. Musk. I'm Claire Bennett, the manager here. How can I assist you today?" Elon explained again, and Claire nodded, taking the papers. As she reviewed them, her face tightened. "I'm sorry, Mr. Musk," she said. "This transaction exceeds the daily transfer limit. Our system flagged it for verification." Elon raised an eyebrow. "You're saying I can't donate my own money?" "It's not that simple," Claire replied, her voice calm but firm. "We have policies to ensure compliance with regulations. If you'd like, we can escalate this to corporate for approval. It may take a day or two." "A day or two?" Elon's voice sharpened. "This is ridiculous. I'm not asking for a loan, I'm giving money away." Claire stood her ground. "I understand your frustration, but I can't override the system." Elon's frustration bubbled over. "You know what? Forget it. If this bank's so outdated, maybe I should just buy the building and fix things myself." James's jaw dropped. Claire blinked, unsure if he was serious. Elon turned, pulling out his phone. By the time he walked out the door, he had tweeted, "Banking is broken. Tried to donate to charity, got blocked by bureaucracy. Fine, I'll just buy the building." Within hours, Elon's tweet went viral. Social media lit up with mixed reactions. Some comments read, "He's right. Banks are so inefficient. Elon Musk is a billionaire acting like a spoiled kid." Others were more critical. "When wealth becomes a weapon, disgusting. This is why billionaires shouldn't exist." Ethan Cross, a sharp and outspoken journalist, was quick to write an article titled, "When Wealth Becomes Weaponized." The piece dissected Musk's impulsive behavior, painting him as out of touch with ordinary people. Ethan sipped his coffee as he typed furiously, ending with a biting line. "What does it say about society when a man's response to a minor inconvenience is to buy an entire building? Musk may have money, but does he have heart?" A week later, the staff at the small-town bank gathered in the break room. The atmosphere was tense. Claire stood in front of the group, holding a printed email. "It's official," she said, her voice heavy. "Elon Musk has purchased this building." A wave of murmurs rippled through the room. "What does that mean for us?" James asked, his voice tinged with worry. Claire sighed. "It means we no longer work here. The bank is relocating to another branch. They've offered us transfers, but it's not the same." Amara Johnson, the part-time security guard, leaned against the wall, arms crossed. She thought about her 12-year-old son, Malik, and how much they depended on her paycheck. As the staff began packing up their belongings, Amara lingered. She wasn't angry like some of her co-workers. She was tired. That evening, as the last employee left, Musk entered the now vacant building. The silence was deafening. For the first time, the weight of his impulsive decision began to settle on his shoulders. Amara was still in the lobby, gathering her things. Musk approached her cautiously. "You're still here?" he asked, his voice softer than before. Amara looked up, startled. "I was just finishing up." There was an awkward pause. Elon rubbed the back of his neck. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he admitted. "I was just, frustrated." Amara studied him for a moment. "Frustration doesn't pay bills," she said evenly. Her words stung, but they also grounded him. "I want to make this right," Musk said. "Maybe turn this place into something useful." Amara gave a small, skeptical laugh. "You think buying a building fixes everything?" "No," Elon replied, his tone earnest. "But maybe it's a start." Outside, Amara's son, Malik, waited on a bench with his tablet. Musk noticed him and walked over. "Hey, what are you working on?" Musk asked. Malik's face lit up. "I'm designing an app. It's a game about building rockets." Musk chuckled. "Rockets, huh? That's my thing." Malik's eyes widened. "You're Elon Musk. I watch your videos all the time." They talked for a while, Musk asking Malik about his ideas and dreams. For the first time in days, Musk felt something shift, a spark of inspiration. As Amara called Malik to leave, Musk stood there, watching them go. The boy's enthusiasm reminded him of himself at that age, full of dreams and determination. The bank building was hauntingly quiet. Elon Musk pushed open the heavy glass doors, the hinges creaking slightly, a sound that echoed through the vast emptiness. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, highlighting a layer of dust settling over the once bustling lobby. Elon stood still, letting the silence sink in. A week ago, this place had been alive with people. Voices overlapping, phones ringing, the occasional laughter from the staff break room. Now, it was a shell. He walked toward the main counter where he had argued with Claire. Running his hand along the smooth wooden surface, he noticed a faint imprint where the bank's logo had been. A sudden pang of guilt struck him. "Guess I really showed them," he muttered under his breath, the sarcasm tasting bitter. The sound of faint movement caught his attention. He turned and saw a figure in the break room, partially obscured by the frosted glass. Curious, he walked over. Amara Johnson stood there, her back to him, carefully placing items into a cardboard box. She moved with a deliberate focus, as if the act of packing up her things required all her strength. On the table beside her was a framed photo of a boy, grinning wide with bright, hopeful eyes. "You're still here?" Elon asked, his voice breaking the quiet. Amara turned sharply, startled by his presence. Her expression quickly shifted to one of guarded neutrality. "I didn't think you'd come back," she said, her tone even. Elon stepped into the room, his hands in his pockets. "I wanted to see what I'd done. It's different when it's quiet." Amara gave a small, dry laugh, though there was no humor in it. "Quiet isn't always a good thing." Mr. Musk Elon's gaze fell to the photo on the table. "Your son?" "Malik," she said, her voice softening slightly. "He's 12, smart as a whip, loves technology, wants to be an engineer someday." Elon nodded, his curiosity piqued. "He sounds like a great kid." Amara didn't respond immediately. Instead, she placed the last of her things in the box and closed the lid. "He is, and he depends on me, which is why I can't afford this." She gestured vaguely at the empty room around her, her frustration restrained but evident. Elon sighed, leaning against the doorway. "I didn't mean for this to happen," he admitted. I was frustrated. The bureaucracy, the red tape. It felt like a system built to stop people from doing good." Amara folded her arms, studying him. "You think you're the only one frustrated? Try working 2 jobs to make ends meet. Try explaining to your kid why you can't buy the latest gadget he dreams of, because the rent's due. Frustration doesn't justify blowing up people's lives." Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. He looked down, uncharacteristically, at a loss for words. After a moment, he said quietly, "You're right. It doesn't." The sincerity in his voice caught Amara off guard. For the first time, she saw something human behind the billionaire persona, something raw and uncertain. "What are you going to do now?" she asked, her tone softer. Elon looked around the room, his mind spinning. "I don't know yet, but maybe I can make this place worth something again." Ethan Cross sat at his desk, his small apartment cluttered with stacks of papers and coffee mugs. His laptop screen glowed in the dim light, displaying his latest article. "When Wealth Becomes Weaponized." The headline was bold, provocative, exactly what his readers expected. He leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his disheveled hair. The article had gone viral, fueling the ongoing debate about Musk's actions. But something about the story didn't sit right with him. He opened his notebook, flipping through pages of scribbled notes from his interviews. Claire Bennett's words stood out. He was frustrated, but I couldn't break the rules for him. I had a responsibility to follow protocol. James Patel had been more emotional. He didn't care how it affected us. He just stormed out, like we were beneath him. Then there was Amara. Her words echoed in his mind, refusing to be silenced. People like Musk can afford mistakes. People like me can't. Ethan tapped his pen against the notebook, feeling the stirrings of a new angle. Musk's actions had been impulsive, even destructive, but there was something more beneath the surface, a complexity he hadn't fully explored. Maybe he's not just a villain, Ethan murmured to himself. Maybe he's a man trying to figure out who he is. With renewed focus, he started drafting a follow-up piece. Amara sat on a park bench watching her son Malik as he tinkered with his tablet. His brow furrowed in concentration, his fingers flying across the screen. "Malik!" she called, her voice tinged with both pride and exhaustion. "Take a break, baby. You've been staring at that thing all morning." "Just a sec, Mom," Malik replied, not looking up. Before she could protest, a shadow fell over them. She glanced up to see Elon Musk standing there, a hesitant smile on his face. "Mind if I join you?" he asked. Amara frowned. "This isn't exactly your usual crowd, Mr. Musk." "Maybe that's the point," he said, sitting down beside her without waiting for permission. Malik looked up then, his eyes widening. "You're Elon Musk," Elon grinned. "Guilty as charged." Malik scrambled to show him his tablet. "I'm working on a game. It's about building rockets and exploring space." Elon leaned in, genuinely interested. "Let's see it." As Malik explained his project, his enthusiasm was infectious. Elon asked questions, offering advice and encouragement. Amara watched, her skepticism slowly giving way to a mix of surprise and hope. "He's got a real talent," Elon said to Amara as Malik returned to his coding. "He's got big dreams," she replied. "But dreams don't pay the bills." "They can," Elon said quietly, "if someone gives him the chance." Amara didn't respond, but the look in her eyes suggested she was beginning to see a different side of the man who had upended her life. The gala was a spectacle of wealth and glamour, with glittering chandeliers and champagne flowing freely. Elon stood near the edge of the room, nursing a drink and avoiding small talk. Nearby, a group of well-dressed attendees whispered among themselves, their laughter grating. "Did you hear about Musk buying that bank?" one man said, smirking. "Classic billionaire tantrum," another added. "When you've got money to burn, why not make a scene?" Their words hit Elon harder than he expected. He walked out into the garden, needing air. As he stared at the night sky, memories of his younger self flooded his mind. The scrappy engineer with big dreams, the relentless drive to change the world. Somewhere along the way, he'd lost sight of that person. I can do better, he whispered to himself, the resolve in his voice growing stronger. I have to. Elon Musk had never been afraid of public speaking, but standing behind the podium that morning, he felt something he rarely experienced: doubt. The press conference room was packed, the low hum of chatter and camera clicks filling the air. Behind him was a massive banner with the words, "A Vision for the Future, the Community Innovation Hub." The decision to hold this press conference had been impulsive, yet necessary. After weeks of reflection and conversations with people like Amara and Malik, Elon knew he had to act. Still, the weight of public scrutiny pressed on him. Would people believe him? Could he actually pull this off? A woman in the front row, holding a recorder, leaned over to whisper to her colleague. Think he's just trying to fix his image? Elon caught the comment. He'd been hearing variations of it ever since he made his announcement. It stung, but he pushed the thought aside as the moderator signaled it was time to begin. He stepped forward, gripping the edges of the podium. The murmurs faded as the cameras zoomed in. He scanned the crowd, seeing skeptical journalists, curious onlookers, and even a few familiar faces. Amara was there, seated off to the side. Taking a deep breath, he began. Good morning. Thank you for being here today. His voice was calm but carried an edge of vulnerability. As you all know, a few weeks ago I bought this building. What started as an impulsive decision quickly became a lesson, one I needed to learn. He paused, glancing down for a moment before continuing. I was frustrated by systems that feel rigid and outdated, and I acted without thinking about the people those systems support. People like Amara Johnson, who works tirelessly to provide for her son. People like Claire Bennett, who follow rules not out of stubbornness, but out of a sense of responsibility. People like James Patel, who dream of something bigger but remain grounded in their jobs. My actions hurt these people, and for that, I'm truly sorry. The room was silent now, the only sound the faint whir of a nearby camera. Elon looked up, his gaze steady. But I don't want to stop at an apology. I want to make this right, not just for the people affected by my actions, but for the entire community. That's why I'm here today to announce the launch of the Community Innovation Hub. A screen behind him lit up, displaying digital renderings of the transformed building. The lobby, once cold and corporate, was now a bright, welcoming space filled with classrooms, workshops, and tech labs. This hub, Elon continued, will provide free education and resources to underprivileged youth in technology, finance, and entrepreneurship. It's a place where kids like Malik Johnson can learn coding, engineering, and business skills. A place where dreams are nurtured, not stifled. The room erupted in murmurs again, a mix of surprise and cautious optimism. A journalist raised her hand. Mr. Musk, how do you plan to fund this initiative? Elon smiled faintly. The same way I fund anything worth doing, with everything I've got. But this isn't just about money. It's about bringing together people who care. I've already started reaching out to local leaders, educators, and even the former staff of this bank to help make this vision a reality. The mention of the former staff drew attention. Another reporter leaned forward. You're asking the same people you displaced to come back and work with you? Yes, Elon said simply. And I understand if some of them don't want to. But I hope they'll see that this isn't just about me. It's about creating something meaningful for this community. As the press conference ended, Elon stepped away from the podium, his heart still pounding. He spotted Amara in the corner of the room, her expression unreadable. Walking over to her, he said quietly, Well? What do you think? Amara looked at him for a long moment before replying, I think you're trying, and that's a start. After the press conference, Elon began the difficult task of reaching out to the former bank staff. It wasn't an easy decision. He knew many of them still harbored resentment toward him. But if this project was going to succeed, he needed their expertise and, more importantly, their trust. Claire Bennett was his first call. "Mr. Musk," she said coolly when she picked up. "I didn't expect to hear from you." "Claire," he began, his tone unusually humble, "I owe you an apology." There was a pause on the other end. "Go on?" He took a deep breath. "I acted out of frustration that day. I let my emotions get the better of me, and in doing so, I disrespected you and everyone else who worked at that bank. I'm sorry." Claire's voice softened slightly. "That's appreciated. But what do you want from me, Mr. Musk?" "I want you to help me run the Innovation Hub," he said. "Your experience in managing operations is exactly what this project needs." She let out a sharp laugh. "You want me to work for you after everything that happened?" "Not for me," Elon corrected gently. "With me. For the community." Another long pause followed before Claire said, "I'll think about it." His conversations with James Patel and others followed a similar pattern: initial skepticism tempered by cautious hope. Amara, however, was different. When he met with her at the now empty bank building, she didn't wait for him to speak. "You really think a few apologies and a shiny new project are going to fix everything?" "No," Elon admitted. "But it's a start, and I want you to be part of this. I need people who understand the challenges this community faces." Amara crossed her arms, studying him. "You've got a lot to prove, Mr. Musk. But if you're serious about this, I'll consider it. For Malik's sake." Transforming the building into a state-of-the-art hub was no small task. Elon threw himself into the project, overseeing every detail from the renovation plans to the curriculum design. But the road wasn't smooth. Local officials raised concerns about zoning regulations. Critics accused Elon of using the hub as a PR stunt. Even some of the community members were skeptical, unsure if this was just another fleeting billionaire vanity project. One particularly heated town hall meeting tested Elon's resolve. "This all sounds great on paper," a woman in the audience said. "But how do we know you won't lose interest and abandon this like so many other projects?" Elon stood at the front of the room, his hands clasped together. "You don't," he admitted. "All I can do is show you through my actions that I'm committed to making this work." Slowly, the tide began to turn. With the help of Claire, Amara, and others, the hub started to take shape. The first group of students enrolled, their excitement infectious. Malik was among them, his eyes lighting up as he explored the new tech lab. "Mom," he said one evening, his voice full of wonder, "do you think I can really build rockets someday?" Amara smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "I think you can do anything you set your mind to." The Community Innovation Hub bustled with energy as the day of its first-ever hackathon arrived. The main atrium, once a stark and corporate bank lobby, was now transformed into a vibrant, collaborative space. Rows of tables were lined with laptops, cables, and snacks, as young participants hunched over their screens, coding furiously. Elon stood on the second-floor balcony, watching the scene below. He smiled faintly as he saw Malik Johnson, his face lit up with focus and determination, surrounded by a small group of teammates. "Do you think he'll pull it off?" Amara asked, walking up beside Elon. She looked anxious, but proud, her eyes fixed on her son. "If he's anything like you," Elon replied, "he's got this." Amara shot him a skeptical look but didn't reply. She had agreed to work part-time at the hub, helping with administrative tasks, but she was still wary of Elon's motives. This project was good for the community, no doubt, but was it enough to balance the scales of what he'd done? Down below, Malik's team was deep in discussion. Their challenge was to create an app or tool that solved a real-world problem. Malik, being the dreamer he was, had pitched a bold idea, an app that used augmented reality to teach kids about space exploration. "Do you think we have time to finish the prototype?" one of his teammates asked, worry creeping into their voice. "We have to," Malik said, firmly, his tone unshakable. "We'll simplify the design and focus on making the AR feature work. We can add the extra stuff later." His teammates nodded, trusting his leadership. As the hours ticked by, the tension in the room grew. Judges, including Claire, James, and a few local tech leaders, wandered from table to table, observing the progress. Ethan Cross, who had been documenting the entire event for an article, paused near Malik's table. "What's the concept here?" Ethan asked, his notebook in hand. Malik glanced up, his excitement shining through his exhaustion. "It's an app to teach kids about space. You can point your phone at a flat surface, and it'll project a 3D model of a rocket or a planet. You can explore it, learn about it, and even build your own spacecraft." Ethan raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Ambitious. How close are you to making it work?" "Close enough," Malik replied, grinning. The final hour of the hackathon was a blur of frantic typing, troubleshooting, and last-minute adjustments. When the clock struck 0, a loud cheer erupted from the participants, followed by nervous chatter as they prepared to present their projects. Malik's team was one of the last to present. As they stood on stage, facing a panel of judges and a crowd of peers and parents, Malik took a deep breath. "Good afternoon," he began, his voice steady despite the butterflies in his stomach. "Our app is called AstroLens. It's designed to make learning about space interactive and fun, using augmented reality." He tapped a button on the tablet in his hand, and a 3D model of a rocket appeared on the screen. He demonstrated how users could rotate it, zoom in on different parts, and access detailed information about its components. The audience murmured in appreciation, and a few people even clapped. One of the judges, a local software engineer, leaned forward. "This is impressive. What inspired you to create this?" Malik hesitated for a moment, then said, "I've always wanted to build rockets, but where I'm from, resources like this aren't easy to find. I wanted to create something that kids like me could use to dream big, no matter where they come from." The sincerity in his voice struck a chord. Amara wiped a tear from her eye as the audience broke into applause. Later that evening, after the winners were announced, Malik's team taking first place, Elon found the boy sitting on a bench in the garden, outside the hub. "Congratulations," Elon said, sitting down beside him. "Thanks," Malik replied, his voice subdued despite the triumph. "What's wrong?" Elon asked. Malik shrugged. "It's just, I don't know if I can actually do all the things I want to do. Winning this is cool, but it's just one step." Elon looked at him thoughtfully. "You know, when I was your age, I felt the same way. I had big dreams, but I didn't always know how to make them real. The trick is to keep taking those steps, even when they're hard or scary." Malik nodded slowly, his eyes reflecting a mix of determination and doubt. "You've got what it takes, Malik," Elon added. "And you've got people who believe in you? That's more than I had back then." For the first time that evening, Malik smiled. "Thanks, Mr. Musk. Call me Elon," he said with a grin. The hackathon's success marked a significant milestone for the Community Innovation Hub. It garnered positive media coverage, with headlines like, "Innovation Hub inspires next generation of tech leaders," and "A new chapter for Musk's redemption." Ethan Cross published a detailed article about the event, focusing not just on the projects, but also on the stories of the participants. He included an interview with Malik, highlighting the boy's passion and the potential impact of the hub. But not everyone was convinced. At a local business meeting, A group of community leaders debated the hub's long-term viability. "This is a great start," one man said. "But will Musk stick around? Or is this just another billionaire's vanity project?" Claire Bennett, who had been invited to the meeting as a representative of the hub, stood up. "I've worked with Mr. Musk on this project, and I've seen the effort he's put into it. He's not perfect, but his commitment is real. And this isn't just about him. It's about all of us, as a community, coming together to make this work." Her words carried weight, silencing the skeptics. Meanwhile, Elon, unaware of the ongoing meeting, was in his office at the hub, reviewing the feedback from the hackathon. He still struggled with self-doubt, but moments like Malik's victory reminded him why this project mattered. That evening, as he walked through the hub, he saw Amara working late, organizing supplies in one of the classrooms. "Burning the midnight oil," he joked, leaning against the doorway. She glanced at him, a small smile on her lips. "Someone's got to keep this place running." Elon chuckled. "Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you." Amara looked at him, her expression softening. "You're surprising me, Musk. Maybe this place really is your way of making things right." "I hope so," he said quietly. As he left the room, he felt a rare sense of peace. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he was building something truly meaningful, not just for himself, but for others. The sun was just beginning to rise on the day of the grand opening. The Community Innovation Hub stood as a beacon of possibility, its sleek exterior a far cry from the cold, impersonal bank it once was. Banners with the hub's motto, "Innovate, Educate, Empower," fluttered in the early morning breeze. Inside, final preparations were underway. Claire Bennett was in the main atrium, directing volunteers to set up tables and arrange chairs. No, the welcome desk goes closer to the entrance," she called out, her tone brisk but calm. Amara Johnson was double-checking the classroom supplies. She glanced at the clock, then at her phone, smiling at a text from Malik. "Can't wait for today, Mom." Upstairs, in a small office overlooking the atrium, Elon Musk stared out the window. He was dressed in a simple blazer and jeans, a stark contrast to the sleek suits of his earlier years. Ethan Cross stood nearby, a notebook in hand, watching him carefully. "You nervous?" Ethan asked, breaking the silence. Elon chuckled softly, though it lacked his usual confidence. "You'd think after launching rockets and building electric cars, this would be easy." "It's different, though, isn't it?" Ethan pressed. "This isn't about tech or innovation. It's about people." Elon nodded, his gaze distant. "Yeah, it's personal." The sound of voices and footsteps grew louder as guests began arriving. Community members, local officials, journalists, and young students filled the atrium. The energy was electric, a mix of curiosity, hope, and cautious optimism. An hour later, the crowd gathered around the main stage for the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Claire stood at the podium first, delivering a heartfelt speech about the journey that had brought them here. "When Mr. Musk asked me to join this project, I was hesitant," she admitted, her voice steady. "But, as I've watched this vision come to life, I've seen what's possible when people come together for a common goal. This hub isn't just a building, it's a promise to this community." The audience applauded warmly as she stepped aside, handing the microphone to Elon. He hesitated for a moment, scanning the faces in the crowd. He saw Claire, Amara, Malik, James, and even Ethan, all watching him with varying degrees of expectation. "I've made a lot of mistakes," Elon began, his voice quieter than usual. "This project started because of one of them. But out of that mistake came an opportunity to build something better, not just for me, but for all of us." He gestured toward the crowd, his voice growing stronger. "This hub is a place where anyone can learn, create, and dream. It's for the kids who think the stars are out of reach, and the adults who want to rewrite their stories. It's for everyone who believes in a brighter future. The applause was thunderous as he cut the ribbon, officially opening the hub. The grand opening was a success, but the adrenaline had worn off, leaving Elon feeling restless. The building was quiet now, with only the hum of the air conditioning and the faint echo of earlier celebrations lingering in the halls. He walked through the hub alone, his footsteps slow and deliberate as he absorbed the transformation of the space. Each room told a story of what had been and what could be. The main atrium, once sterile and utilitarian, now radiated warmth and vibrancy. The classrooms were filled with state-of-the-art equipment, their walls adorned with motivational quotes and images of famous innovators. Elon found himself in the tech lab, where Malik had worked tirelessly on his hackathon project. The space was a testament to the potential of young minds, desks scattered with tools, half-finished prototypes, and sketches of ideas waiting to be realized. On one table sat a familiar tablet displaying the AstroLens app. Elon picked it up, his fingers brushing over the screen as the 3D model of a rocket came to life. The app was simple but ingenious. It reminded him of his own beginnings, tinkering with computers in his childhood bedroom. Back then, he had nothing but curiosity and determination to guide him. Now, decades later, he was witnessing the same spark in Malik. Lost in thought, Elon didn't hear Amara approaching until she spoke. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked, her voice soft but firm. Startled, Elon turned to see her standing in the doorway. She was dressed casually, her hair pulled back, and her expression was one of quiet concern. "I guess not," he admitted, setting the tablet down. "Too much on my mind." Amara stepped into the room, her arms crossed as she leaned against a desk. "You're not the only one. Big day like this. It's hard to turn off the noise." Elon nodded, appreciating her candor. "I've been thinking about everything that led up to this. The mistakes, the people I've hurt, the bridges I've burned. Sometimes I wonder if this project is enough to make up for all of it." Amara studied him for a moment before replying, "You know, redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about owning it and doing better. This place, it's a good start. But it's not just about what you're building here, it's about who you're becoming." Her words hit him harder than he expected. He had always thought of himself as a builder, someone who created things that shaped the future. But this project wasn't just about buildings or technology. It was about people. "I'm trying," Elon said quietly, his voice tinged with vulnerability. Amara softened, a small smile tugging at her lips. "I can see that. And I think others are starting to see it too." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the conversation settling between them. "Thank you," Elon said finally, his voice sincere. "For believing in this project, for believing in me, even if it wasn't easy." Amara nodded. "Just don't make me regret it." Elon chuckled, the tension breaking slightly. "I'll do my best." As she left the room, he sat down at one of the desks, his thoughts still swirling. For the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of clarity. Redemption wasn't a destination. It was a journey. And tonight, he felt like he was on the right path. The weeks following the grand opening were a whirlwind of activity. The hub was officially open to the public, and its impact was immediate. Each day, the building buzzed with life as students, parents, and community members filled its spaces. James Patel, now one of the hub's lead mentors, thrived in his new role. He had always been passionate about financial literacy, and now he had the platform to share his knowledge. His classes were packed with young adults eager to learn about managing money, investing, and starting their own businesses. One afternoon, James stood in front of a group of teenagers, holding up a crisp dollar bill. "Who can tell me what this is worth?" he asked, his tone playful but serious. $1, someone called out, eliciting laughter from the group. Wrong, James said, grinning. This isn't just $1. It's a tool, a key, a way to unlock opportunities if you know how to use it. And that's what we're going to learn today. The room fell silent as the students leaned in, captivated by his enthusiasm. James thrived on moments like these, where he could see the light bulbs going off in their minds. In another part of the building, Claire Bennett was busy ensuring the hub's operations ran smoothly. Her days were filled with meetings, scheduling, and problem-solving, but for the first time in years, she felt fulfilled. One morning, she was reviewing the hub's budget when she received a call from a local teacher who wanted to partner on a STEM outreach program. As she hung up, a sense of pride washed over her. This was why she had agreed to join the project, to create opportunities that truly mattered. Later that day, she crossed paths with Amara in the hallway. "Busy as ever?" Claire asked, noting the clipboard in Amara's hand. "You have no idea," Amara replied with a laugh. "But it's a good kind of busy." The two women exchanged a knowing smile. They had come from different worlds, but the hub had brought them together with a shared purpose. For Amara, the hub represented a fresh start. She had transitioned into a full-time role overseeing community outreach programs, and she poured her heart into the work. She visited schools, organized workshops, and met with parents to ensure the hub's resources reached those who needed them most. One evening, she returned home late, exhausted but content. Malik was waiting for her, his laptop open on the kitchen table. "Hey, Mom," he said, looking up with a grin. "Guess what? The company sponsoring my app wants to feature it at their next event." Amara's heart swelled with pride. "That's amazing, Malik. I'm so proud of you." "Thanks," he said, his excitement barely contained. "And Mom? Thanks for everything. I couldn't have done this without you." She hugged him tightly, her exhaustion melting away. Months turned into years, and the Community Innovation Hub became a cornerstone of the community. Its impact rippled outward, inspiring similar projects in neighboring towns and even catching the attention of national media. Ethan Cross, who had documented the hub's journey from the beginning, published a feature titled "The Building of Redemption." The article was a powerful narrative that wove together stories of transformation: Elon's, the community's, and his own. "Redemption isn't a single act," Ethan wrote. "It's a series of choices, each one building on the last. And in this small town, in a building that once symbolized bureaucracy, redemption is alive and thriving." The hub's success didn't erase Elon's past mistakes, but it reframed his legacy. He continued to mentor young innovators, often working behind the scenes to support their projects. For him, the hub wasn't just a building. It was a chance to give back in a way that truly mattered. One evening, he sat in the garden outside the hub, watching the sun set. Malik joined him, his notebook filled with sketches and ideas. "You're still dreaming, Kuh?" Elon asked, a smile tugging at his lips. "Always," Malik replied. They sat in silence for a moment before Malik said, "You know, this place changed my life." Elon looked at him, his expression thoughtful. "It changed mine, too." And as the stars began to appear in the night sky, Elon felt a rare sense of peace. Redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about building a future worth believing in. Hope you like this story. Subscribe Storyboat and turn on notifications for daily upcoming stories like this.